how you win during the war depends on your preparation during the peacetime. This is a very old saying that one of my uh, father's colleague with the Indian Army mentioned to me when I was in the college days. And many a times, we in the corporate world also face certain situations or confrontations which leads to pretty nasty kind of confrontations. Sometimes it gets at a very serious level. Employees should try their best to stick to their professional code of conduct. Let's not make it physical. There are always space for a discussion, a verbal discussion. But many times what we have seen is years or months of confrontations piling up, difference of opinion piling up in the mind of a professional, sometimes on some day bursts out, and it leads to pretty nasty kind of confrontations, both verbal or physical, even at the corporate level. Handling corporate confrontations and difference of opinion happens to be the prime area of functionality for the HR professionals. But still, we face professionals facing this issue. And with career counseling online, past 8 years, almost 10 years that we've been working with various levels of professionals, I have found that when the subordinates are suppressed of their opinion, are dejected, and every occasion is taken to insult them, every occasion is taken to show them they are the subordinates and their opinions doesn't matter, months and years of suppression yells up to a kind of steam which blows off one fine day. Many a times I understand it is required. It is required that you speak or you stand for your opinion or your ideas or the viewpoint you stand for. Many a times it is required to come up front verbally. I'm always mentioning, please don't get into physical tiffs, physical confrontation. Please do not take it at the physical level where it gets into a criminal act. You can always have that verbal conversation. You can always have that confrontation verbally. You can always put forward your point of view in front of the HR or the head of the department or the head of the organization. But I understand this also. Many a times the subordinates has to go through so many levels to reach up to the topmost level to have their challenge or the problem or the kind of suppression being heard. It is many a times lost in the whole journey. And what happens is, one fine day, there is such a bad kind of confrontation, nasty conversation that yells into a result which both the parties might not have even contemplated or considered. So the thing is, see, when we are in the professional world, just like as I mentioned in the army, see, we are always preparing ourselves for what can go wrong, what might go out of the track, which might pose a challenge in our life. We are always preparing for that situation. The whole life we try to prepare ourselves. Let's say we try to ensure ourselves of any kind of mishappenings. But in the professional world, with a change of culture, change of dynamics, change of mindsets, and the kind of work environment change that is happening, many times it happens that there is a tiff, there is a confrontation, there is a verbal communication wherein it is getting very complicated to get solved at the personal level. Now, to understand when it is suitable when it is actually right to go into a confrontation. Because just like war, for the war, it so happens, sorry about that, guys, for the war, during the wartime, we have seen that extreme losses are faced by everyone. Extreme losses are felt by the party who's into initiation of the war and who the war is against. So it cannot be that one side is benefiting constantly without incurring any losses. So whenever there is a loss, whenever there is a bloodshed, just like in the Indian army war and others, in the corporate world also, there are losses which needs to be considered. Losses like loss of energy, loss of morale of the team, loss of respect of the team members, loss of integrity in terms of you might be a very peaceful person, you might be respected by everyone, you might be looked upon as a great leader who is able to control emotional quotient and intelligence quotient, balancing everything. But the thing is, it might go off the window in one day confrontation only with either your boss or the department head or the team members. I remember that uncle from Indian Army mentioning, like, son, wars are always very costly. What we build in 10 years is lost in 1 week. No loss can be, sorry about that, guys, no loss can be imposed upon only a single person. No loss can be upon only a single sided. The loss is on both the side. So the thing which happens is, to minimize the loss, the same uncle from the Indian Army said, many a times the best reply is to seek for peace. Even in the old saying, there is a saying which says, if there is equal advancement in peace and in war, the king should choose to develop peaceful relationship with the others. So if by understanding, if by mutual understanding, by talking within ourselves, we can solve a corporate problem, it is much advisable. Now, 3 points needs to be considered when we are working. I know it sounds something illogical, like when you never know when the confrontation might break, how nasty it can become, and what kind of confrontation you have to face. But the thing is, don't be impulsive. Just before you really go into the confrontation, consider these 3 points. First, what is the gain? Like when you are going into this confrontation with the department head or the organization head or within the subordinates also, what are you trying to gain? Because if it is a confrontation, a nasty confrontation with your subordinates, well, you need to understand, you as a team head need to work with that same subordinate only. The only thing is, you might not be in talking terms, you might not be in good relationship, wherein he might not be contributing to his best knowledge and capability. That will only complicate your job as a team lead. That will only complicate your deliverables as a team lead, because you are depending on your subordinates in the team. So we must learn, or we must agree to disagree. There are difference of opinions. I work in a certain way, you work in a certain way, the other team members work in a separate way. They have their own understanding, they have their own way of expressing their viewpoints, they have their own way of analyzing a situation, and they have their own way of communicating their difference of opinion. So when they are expressing their point of view in an aggressive manner, you don't need to reply back in the same manner. But if it goes into that extent wherein a reply is required, I would suggest that try to involve the HR or your head to whom you're reporting. Because when the administrative departments, or when your superiors are involved into this kind of discussion, not only this discussion goes into a very, let's say, a controlled manner, it does not get that nasty, but also it gets into a feedback mode wherein, you put forward your point, the other person put forward the other points, and what the best practice is adopted. I understand in the corporate world, many times it does not happen that way. A confrontation breaks, it gets into a nasty the fight sometimes also. So the thing is, when you are really eager to reply back to that subordinate, or your team lead, or your manager, or the department head, or the organization head, you need to understand what are you trying to gain out of this confrontation. Because this kind of nasty confrontation, which will leave a memory which is not going to be very good, either for you or the other person. Now, if you plan to work with that organization for the long term, wherein you have a secured growth, where you have a learning happening, where you are even contributing a lot, well, really putting up a nasty confrontation and losing all this is not really advised, is not really recommended, because you are putting at stake a lot of things. And in this case, you're putting at stake your career, your source of income, your learning capabilities, because many organizations provide a lot of trainings which are really beneficial in the long course of the career. So do not put all these at stake just because of a confrontation. Put forward your point, and try to get it solved by involving your superiors. But even if you really are going into a confrontation, understand this, that what you are trying to gain, do you really want to gain that? Do you really want to prove you are right and the other person is wrong? Might be, that is true, but do you really need to prove yourself right? Don't you believe that you are right when you are doing it? So if you believe in something, if you're convinced in something, you really don't need to prove it to somebody. You just need to focus on what your deliverables are, what your job responsibilities are, and you need to learn to agree to disagree. The whole world is having a difference of opinion, and you cannot go into a fight with them. But even if you're going with them into a confrontation, you have to be, let's say, very polite. You cannot be using rude words, you cannot be using crude, unprofessional words, unparliamentary words, which might be used against you as a proof that you are aggressive employee, and that having you in the team is pretty disturbing. So in that case, even when you are right, the whole thing goes against you. Second thing to consider is, what are you losing? We have talked. We have talked about what we are trying to gain. Proving ourselves right. Thanks a lot, Pratik, for joining. Thanks a lot. It means a lot. Thanks, Mama. The thing is, see, when we are considering a confrontation at the corporate level, it might get into a nasty confrontation. So while we are trying to consider what we are trying to gain, we need to also understand what would be losing. We would be losing a lot of energy. We would be losing our respect. We would be losing our acceptance within the team. We would be losing that morale kind of support which the others would be having if you were behaving in much more professional way. So before putting everything at stake, you need to understand that sometimes, as that uncle from the Indian Army mentioned, that beta, sometimes no attack is the best attack. We were talking about the border situations, and he was mentioning about like that in the POK region, a lot of bombing happens throughout 24/7. And in reply to that, Indian Army also responds back, but the retaliation is much lesser in terms to prove that we are there and don't proceed further. So the thing is, and I mentioned, like, uncle, why don't you guys take everything what you have got, all the strength, all the cannons, all the artilleries, and end this up in one go. Then he mentioned, beta, this is not going to end up in one go, because past since independence this has been going on, and this is a war is not a war within armies. It is actually on the global scenario also. It is actually a political plot which initiates this kind of actions, and the armies on both the sides do lose heavily. So we could try to do that, but the thing is, sometimes it is best not to attack, which is yielding more losses to us, because the more we are doing this kind of firing, we are doing this kind of retaliation, it is economic loss on our side. So we are keeping on stock, we are vigilant, we are creating more monitors, and we are being more active. That's all that is required, and we need not consider their aggressive way of expressing their existence or their presence in the borders. So that made a real good mark in my mind. So the thing is, when we are going into that corporate confrontation, we need to also understand what are we going to lose. We might lose our job, we might lose our respect, we might lose our acceptance within the team, we might lose everything that we have built in our career past, like 10 years, 15 years, 20 years or more. So before putting everything in the stake, I understand the corporate situations these days are getting worse. We are getting more mails, we are getting more calls, and we are getting more messages in our WhatsApp number about corporate confrontations spurring up all now and then. But the thing is, it reminds me of one saying also, that please God, give me the understanding to accept what I can change. Give me the courage to change what needs to be changed. But along with that, also give me that wisdom to accept what needs to be changed and what does not need to be changed. So before you put everything at stake, and before you go into a corporate confrontation with either your team lead, manager, department head, or the organization head, or your subordinates also, you need to understand what you're putting at stake. And the best thing is, as I mentioned, even if you are best trained, if I will quote it from the Indian Army only, even if you're best trained, if you are having the best people, if you're having the best skill sets, if you're having the best information, but timing is very important. Timing is very important, because you might be having the best in everything, but the timing might not be right. If you might be attacking at that time, the climatic situation, the political situation, or the global scenario might be different, and that might impose a different kind of hardship on you. So the thing is, like for instance, with the COVID-19, job cuts are happening, terminations are happening, pay cuts are happening, and the companies are trying to dispose of their employees unethically, trying to balance off their losses. But the thing is, now if a confrontation breaks up, and if you take it up to that level, where it goes nasty, and you might be saying, to hell with my job, I don't give a damn. But the thing is, my friend, you might be signing that resignation letter, you might be putting that paper down, you might find that disrespectful when your team manager or the department head is humiliating you. But I would say, consider the time. This is the time when the market is flooded with professionals with heavy hardcore skills and a bag full of experiences. They are being laid off, they are being terminated, they are going on a garden leave or bench leave, or they are going for a pay cut, they are going for no pay situation. Similar kind of things are, when you consider this time, it's very important, because when you're considering the time, you need to understand that this is a situation where finding a new job would be very difficult. So before you pick that confrontation up at the corporate level, which goes at the nasty level, please consider these 3 points as to what you're trying to gain, what you would be losing, and is the time right to pick up the confrontation. I know it sounds illogical sometimes when you are suppressed for a long time. You have that heat or that steam suppressed in you, and one fine day the valve goes off and you burst off. I understand. I have faced a similar situation wherein I have felt similar kind of feelings. But the thing is, considering your family, considering what you're putting at stake, considering the timing. That's the best part. Is the time right? What kind of situations I might land up with the job loss? What kind of situations I might land up if I go into a physical thief? Because if you go into a physical thief in any of the MNCs, irrespective of you being right, you will be blacklisted for 5 years. Now, for 5 years, if you are blacklisted, you will not be able to apply in any other MNCs, because your report would be saying, your exit interview report would be saying that you are an aggressive employee who goes into a display of difference of opinion, physically taking up the law and taking up the whole things, administrative things in the hand. So that is not advisable for you at this right moment, because this is a situation which is very tough. So please, whether this is post COVID or during the COVID or after the COVID also, I would say professionally, you need to understand what is at stake. You need to involve the respective departments or the respective seniors who might be able to guide you, and you need to consider the time also. If the organization is going through a tough time, it will not have a time to listen to your petty issues or your tips with your boss or your subordinates and such, because they are too busy concentrating on survival, right, on to be sustainable, to be in the market, to be in the competitive market. Because whenever the organization is going into a different kind of scenario, there are situations of market change, collaboration change, and competitive age completely changing, and that keeps the company at the toes, right? Like they are completely at a fighting mode to survive. Now, if you choose that time to put forward your point of view of difference of opinion with either your subordinate, your team lead, your manager, or the department head, well, the organization honestly does not have time for this, because they are trying to survive themselves. So guys, before you pick up that confrontation with any of the employees within the organization, consider these 3 points, and I just hope that you will handle the situation much more professionally, much more in a matured way. Because getting physical, taking it at the court or taking it at the administrative level, obviously might make you feel better, might make you feel that you are right. But the thing is, again, I go, guys, you don't need to prove yourself right to anybody. If you believe you are right, if you believe that what you believe in is true, and you have an honest perception, you have a complete convincing of what the situation is, trust me, you don't need to prove to anybody that you are right. Because if you believe you're right, you are right. So the thing is, with that in mind, try to stay away from confrontation. The situation is completely different. The job market is absolutely volatile, absolutely crumbling, absolutely unstable. So in such a situation, please do not take, or do not be impulsive, do not take a hasty decision, do not go into a kind of nasty confrontation. And I just hope that I will end it up with a term from the Indian Army only. See, the thing is, being someone who has seen all the males around with the Indian Army, I fondly quote quotations from Indian Army only. See, in the Indian Army, there is a term called lie low, lying low, right? So what does it mean is, when there is heavy artillery firing, when there is heavy bombing, when there is heavy shooting happening from the opponent's side, all you have to do, irrespective of you having the best of the best weapons, the best of the tactical trainings, the best of the intel and everything, all you need to do is put your helmet, put your head down, and lie absolutely low, flat on the ground, and wait. wait for the opportunity, wait for the right time when you can stand up and again fight. Now just consider the war situation, heavy artillery firing, heavy bombing happening, heavy shooting happening, and you find that you are right, that you are fighting for your motherland, and this is something wrong that the enemies are doing, and you stand up and you want to face the enemy. What will happen is immediately you will be either shot dead or bombed out, or you will be dead. A dead person is no good. You have to stay alive to fight the war, because you are trained for that war, I am not. That's the simple funda in the Indian army. So the thing is, every life is essential, every life is important, but when you are on the war zone, don't be that hot-headed Rambo who believes that I can take up the whole army single-handedly. So in the corporate war zone also, it's true, in the corporate war zone, there is no bloodshed, but there is a lot of loss of energy, there is a lot of loss of respect, there is a lot of loss, monetary loss, market loss, competition loss. So we are talking about a lot of losses, and gaining is proving yourself right or stemming that suppression out of you. Hold on to that, stick on to the situation, try to keep it under control as far as possible. One fine day you will have the time to sit across the table, involve the right management, and put forward your points. When the times are right, you might take the decision to leave the job, and to put down the paper. But don't be that hot-headed Rambo. As I always mention, do not believe that you are that superhero who can take up the whole world's evils single-handedly. The whole world is filled with people, right from your family to your friends to your colleagues to everybody around you. Every human being is different. They have a difference of opinion. Well, that is also one of the beauty of humankind. You wouldn't have liked the mountain if it was just like a wall. The ups and downs of the mountain gives you a very scenic landscape kind of view, which makes you feel in love with the mountains and to go to the mountains. Had it been like a wall, I can trust me, you would never have been eager to go to the mountains. So with that note, guys, I wind up this session of morning vibes with career counseling. Please visit our YouTube channel, which is Career Counseling Online, and you can visit our web page also, which is careercounselingonline.co.in. And in LinkedIn we have a group, very interactive group by the same name, which is Career Counseling Online, and the Facebook page is also Career Counseling Online. So please follow us, support us. This is interactive community we are trying to build up to actually handle the work related stress, which is predominating and like most prominently taking over the professional world. 70% of the working professionals, I keep on repeating this scary number, 70% of the working professionals across the globe, it's not about India, it's not about a particular country, 70% of the working population are dissatisfied, are discontent, are not happy the way they are treated, not happy the way they are not being appreciated, not happy when their effort goes unrecognized. But the thing is, if we build up a healthy community, we can support each other, right? So with that note today, guys, take care. This is a brand new week. Work from home, stay safe, and keep your family safe. With that note, guys, take care. Bye-bye.